Alright, so this tutorial is after you've made your artwork. I'm just going to kind of quickly show what I made and like why it's what's over here. Okay, so basically I have a bunch of drawings. First thing I would suggest is to make the background. So what I did is each time I drew a background. So literally this is just a drawing, right? And then I click and drag over it, and then I just did modify, convert to symbol, and I just made it a graphic. I'll back out of it. And then that's the way it was. So for instance, I'm just going to show you over here. Literally, I would just draw a square first. Okay, and then I'm just going to delete out the inside here. And then we'll just use this brush. Where's my pen? There it is. And then let's say I was just going to do a background. I would literally just, let's look at properties here and make sure I'm black. And why is that not getting bigger or smaller? Well, I guess it is small. Okay. Or it's just not previewing it well. Okay. So I would just kind of go, ooh, you know, and then maybe draw a tree kind of a thing. All right. So you do that, and you have to picture that you did a good job, and we'll put like a sun there. Okay. So you did something like that. Then just delete out, gotta erase this out here. Okay, got most of it. Okay, and then I would just paint it, right? So let's just quickly, with just the most garbage colors possible. Let's see, green. I'll just do that the same. I'm gonna go ahead and use the close medium-sized gaps. Oops, not that one. This one. And let's just do close small gaps, and then we need what? Yellow. Do the sun yellow, and then I need brown. It's close enough to brown. There we go. Okay, so I have a background. You can see this is just straight up like just an artwork, right? So it's just sitting there. All you got to do afterwards is just take it and just do modify, convert to symbol, and you can just leave everything on movie clips for now. And I would just name this whatever the background is. So this, we'll just call this one background 04, because I have 0, 1, 2, and 3 already. I'd go like that. And then once you finished it, once you have it here, you can see now it's a symbol. And if I double click on it and go inside the symbol, it's like the drawing again. Okay. But if I back up, there it is. Now, if I go to my library, you'll see there it is right there. Okay. So once you have it, I can just delete that. Okay. And then I would draw the next thing that I need. Okay. And then every time I need it, I just pull this back out, and there it is. Okay, so that's all I did basically to make my backgrounds here. I drew them, and then I put them, I converted, like watch, if I double click, let me just get inside of it. You can see this is the drawing, and then I just converted it to a symbol, and then once that was done, you know, you can just go ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and select these and just delete those. All right. Now, I have to have a couple of characters here. So in the first panel, I just wanted to have them sitting and then kind of reaching when you hover over it, and then just have it be sad. Okay, those are basically the 3 poses that I needed for it. So these are, again, they're just drawing. If I double click on it, come on, there you go. It's just a drawing that I did the exact same process for. So I can get rid of these. I just drew them, and then you can just delete them. But again, they're right over, where are they? Right here. No, that's not them. Where are you? Oh, cone sit sad, cone sitting, and cone reaching. Okay, so I just named them those so that I know what they were. Yada, yada, yada. And then I'll come back to that one. I didn't even put that in there. Okay. Good. And then the same thing. So these are a little bit different. This one, again, is actually the same thing because I needed this one in the third panel. So I'm just going to back out again. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that so you see. Now he's a little bit different because I want him, he's going to jump in front, but I want him to wave his arms. So what I did is I drew him, and then I, so you can see here, right, I drew him. But what I also did is I did the drawing, and then I converted it to a symbol, just as before. You can see it's what's this one called? It's called Cone Block Anim. So Cone Block Anim. You can see it's just a movie clip like those other ones. So I did this drawing. Then I just went a couple of frames forward, and I just did this drawing. So there's 2 drawings here. So that basically wherever I put it, it's just going to be waving his arms. Okay. So for instance, actually, if I back this thing up and hit Control Enter, you will actually see. And if I wait, come on, baby. Okay, you can see Basically, he's just waving, okay? And I'll show you these ones in a second, but he's just waving, and that's all that does, okay? So that's how I did that one. It's pretty straightforward. Now this one, what I did is I did the same thing. I did the drawing, right? Then I converted it to a symbol. Now, if you open this guy up, and if I go to the timeline here, you'll see that it's actually made up of a couple things. I got layer 1 here, and that's the car. The car's just a drawing. Let me turn the other one off. So if you look at this car, that's still a drawing. But I wanted to have happen on this one. I wanted these tires to be spinning. Okay? So what I did is I drew the tires separately on a different layer. And then I converted those to a symbol. Okay? And then inside of that symbol, I animated them spinning. So basically, these are like a number. Like if you go down here, you can see I have this wheel graphic. It's just, oh, whoops. Hang on a second. I got to back this up. I back this up a lot more. So here we go. You'll see if I hit enter, Control Enter, it's just a separate symbol that I just put an animation of spinning in, but it's just a drawing and it spins. Actually, that graphic's not going to spin. But anyway, you get the basic idea. So let me delete this one. So I just turned off that layer. But this one was just a drawing. And then layer 2, I really should have labeled it. Call this one car, body, and call this one wheels. Oops, not capitals, wheels. Okay. And so what I did is I did drawing for the wheels. I selected it, did modify, convert to symbol, and I think I called that one car wheel. And then in there, I took that drawing, converted to a symbol, and then I just animated it spinning. Okay, so it's just inside of the wheel, inside of the car. So it's kind of a couple layers deep. So then I'll just delete that. But again, that car is right here. It's called car anim, and I can pull that out whenever I want, and it will just look like a car with spinning wheels. Now I got these guys here. So basically each one does something a little bit different. So I'll select this one. Literally kind of like the other one. There's just a drawing, and he's just sniveling. I just basically I just keyed it each time and made it look like he's sniveling, and that will keep repeating. So he's not too special. This one, what I did is I have the drawing underneath, which is on layer 1. So if I turn that off, you can see that goes away. And then on top of it, you see this path, I drew a tier that I converted to a symbol, which I should rename it tier so that I know what it is. It's this thing here. And I just animated it. If I scrub across, it's sliding off his cheek. Okay. And that's what's inside of this button. That's not a good name for it, but that's what's inside of this one. All right. So, and then this one, if I double click and open this one up, you'll see, I don't know why there's a second layer. It's basically just a drawing. I just did one drawing after the other. And basically, I just copied the previous frame and then just changed parts that I wanted and redrew other parts. And so basically, it just looks like he snivels, like he wipes his face. Okay. And that's basically how I made all this scene. So I got all my pieces now in here, and these are all the parts that I need for the most part. There's some things I'm going to have to change a little bit, but you could see that basically I got the parts that I need. All right. Yay. All right, so I got layer 1. So now what I want to do is I need to make a panel for each thing. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this rectangle tool, and I'm going to go to properties. Because I'm just going to draw a rectangle to make my frame. I got to make the frame and the panel. So, we'll leave it on this. Stroke 4 is okay. I'm going to change this to, let's say, 15. All that's going to do is it curves the sides. You can kind of tell what it does here. Okay, so I thought it might look nice to have it curved. All right, so we got that curved. I'm going to turn off the fill, so there's no fill now. And I'm going to click on this brush library, and I'm just going to choose something a little bit nicer looking. So I'm just going to do this chalk round, okay? And I'll just double click on it, and you can see that's now that. And I'm just going to go ahead and draw a frame. Oops, like so. I'm just going to roughly, just so there's a little bit of white on the outside. Now I'm going to do that again, basically. And this time I'm going to turn this off, 0. And what I want now is, yeah, we'll do the same thing. I'm just going to click, and I just want a little bit bigger than my composition window, like this, okay? Now, what I can do is just so you get an idea. Let's hit V. I'm gonna click on the stage here, so you can see it says stage in my properties. I'm just gonna change the colors off, so it's just this gray. That way you get a better idea. I want to make it so this panel inside here is white. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my fill tool. I think it's not going to work. I'll show you in a second. And I want to choose. I'm gonna choose slightly off. Yeah, we should probably just do white. Let's do white. And you can see it filled the outside, but it didn't take into account the inside. It's because it's in like this object drawing mode. So if you select it, you can see the lines. That's not what I want. I need to like break it apart. So I'm gonna click and drag over both of these and go to modify, break apart. Okay, like that. And now you can see that when you click on it, see how it looks like this? This will work. So now I'm gonna go back to this fill, click on there, and now I got my panel. Okay, which is good. Now the other thing I want to do though is I don't want this outside lines here, because I'm going to basically reuse this frame over and over again. And what will happen is if I got this one and we're going to put the other one right next to it, so hold shift, see how you can see this black line in between? I don't want that. So I'm going to remove the outside line. I needed it there before. Just double click on this line and it deletes. So now it's just that white. So now if I have this one and I put another one right next to it, see there's no line. I mean, there's a line from the frame here, but there's no line in between. Okay, so that's why we're doing that. Okay, let's see, Control Z, undo, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. All right, good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this again. I'm just gonna convert it to a symbol. So we're gonna do F8, or you can do modify, convert to symbol, and we can just leave it on movie clip. And I'm just gonna call it frame, okay? Because that's what I need it to be, as a frame. And a movie clip, boom, and watch. I can click on this, delete it, and if I go to library, I still have frame. So I'm just gonna drag that back over just so you get the idea. You don't have to delete it. I'm just showing you I can. All right. What I want to do is I want to make one panel for each thing, okay? So I could just make like an empty panel. I'm going to start with this frame, and I'm going to, oddly enough, just convert it to a symbol again. So we're going to hit F8 to convert to symbol, and I'm just going to call it panel 01, okay? So, again, now if I delete this, you can see there's this thing called panel 01. I'll drag that on here, okay? And we'll go like, nope, let's try to fit it on there. Okay, and I'm just going to double click on it to open it up. Or actually, you know what? Do this. I'm gonna double click on the panel. I'll show you first. So if I go here and I double click on it, it'll open up the panel. I'm in panel 1, right? And if I click on C1, it backs out. But what I can do is I can do this to any one of these, like this car and if I don't double click on the word, you want to double click on the icon, it'll open up that car, okay? And you can work on it here and then click back out. You see, it's not actually in the scene, but I can do that to any one of these items if I want to like do something to them, and then they'll retain whatever edit I make, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my panel here, I'm going to double click on it, and now I'm inside of that panel, okay? Now, if you look inside of this panel, there's this frame. If I go to properties, you can see right here, it says instance of frame. So if I click off, click on, you can see that's the frame. All right, so that frame is inside of the panel. So if you were to look at the panel, that's all you're going to see right now. You can even see it in the drawing here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the panel where it is, but I'm going to rename that layer. I'm just going to call it, or leave the frame where it is. I'm just going to call it frame. And then I'm going to lock it, the little thing. So now I can't select it or click on it. And then this is my first panel. So inside my first panel, I want to have my background that I drew. So let's see if I can find background 01. Beautiful. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make a new layer. Click here, and let's call this one background. Background. And that should be, well, we'll leave it there for now. I'm going to drag this in here, and there's my background I drew. I'm just going to hit Q for the free transform. You can select it here. I'm going to hold Shift so it stays proportionate, and I'm going to make it unproportionate because it doesn't fit that frame very well. There. Okay. Now, if you look, it's kind of above it. So I'm going to take this layer and put it underneath frame. So I'm going to click and drag. And now you see it's underneath that frame, which is a little bit better. And so let's go and squash this a little bit. Something like that. And then it'd be better to make this proportionate, but we're just going to kind of roll with it here. Okay. So now I got my background in there. Okay. See, there it is. Whoop. And if there was multiple pieces in the background, you put those in there too. But got my background in there. I'm going to go ahead and lock that. And I'll make another layer. And I'm going to put my character in there. So we'll just call this one character. Okay. And I should have something for the character. All right. So what did I say? I was going to do cone sitting set. Cone sitting. I'm just going to take this. I'm going to drop it in here. Okay. And so now I got this drawing of the cone sitting there. And so in essence, that's kind of a good beginning thing. Okay, so that's one panel. I got to make it work, but at least all the pieces are there. All right. So this is like the drawing I made. This was a drawing I made. And if I back out, you can see there's nothing there. But if I look at this panel, every time I drop this panel in here, okay, it's always referencing this one. And so these are all just instances of it. Okay, and anything I do to this panel, like if I put animation or buttons or anything, these will have those, okay? So I'll delete that. So that's one panel. Why don't I make the other ones too? So I'm going to do the same thing I did before, just because I need something to start with to make the panel. I'm just going to drag this frame in here. Okay, so I just clicked and dragged the frame. I'm going to have it selected and go Modify, Convert to Symbol. And we're just going to call this Panel 02. Okay, and I will... you can double click on it and just start working at it in here, or you could double click on it there. It doesn't really make a difference, but I'm inside panel 2. Again, this one is still that frame. So if I change anything on this frame, it will change the frame for both panel 1 and panel 2 because they're referencing this frame for this drawing, okay? I'm just going to go ahead and rename the layer frame so I know that's what's on that layer, and I'll lock it. Make a new layer, and we'll call this one background, okay? And I'll make another layer, and we'll call this one, oops. Call this one character. Okay, probably you're starting to see a pattern here. So I'm taking the background. I got 3 here. Background 1. Okay, it's supposed to be this one. I didn't name these well. So I'm gonna take this, drop this in here, and hit Q or select the free transform. And I'm just gonna kind of scale it so that it's roughly the size I need it to be. And you can see it's got to be underneath the frame. Character's also got to be under there, but make sure you're on background here, and that looks fine. I'm gonna go ahead and lock that one because I don't have anything going on in there. And then I'm gonna click and select the character layer, and this one's supposed to be, let's see, button down, button over, button up. That's supposed to be this one. All right, so it's just him being sad. So I'm just gonna drag that in here, and you can see character underneath background. I gotta pull that up. There we go. Alright, and he looks kind of small, so I'm actually going to do the opposite and make him a little bit bigger. I'm going to hold shift to make sure it stays proportionate. And let me go a little bit more. Okay, we're going to say that's good. And that's panel 2. Okay, so just kind of getting these set up initially. So I'll back up, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one. But again, if I look now, panel 1 is this, and panel 2 is this. Okay, so I can interact with any one of them. Now I want to make the third panel. I just start with a frame. You literally could start with anything and just delete it. Like I could take this, right? Hit F8. Don't do this. I'm just going to show you. Modify. Well, if I do it, I could do convert to symbol, make it whatever, and then when I get in there, just delete that. Okay? I'm going to do it. Don't do that straight. Convert to symbol. And let's call this panel 03. Okay? And when I open it up, you'll see that it's got this guy in it, right? Who is called the cone reaching. Okay? I could just delete that and then go ahead and drag my frame in, and it's all the same. I just need something to start with to make it. That's all it is. I could do a drawing and delete the drawing afterwards. Okay, I'm gonna delete that, and what I'm gonna do is just delete this and do it the way that we were doing it before. I just clicked on it and hit delete. Let's back this thing up. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use frame. Frame just makes the most sense because it's already like kind of the size of it, and that's why I'm using it. All right, so let's go ahead and convert this. I'm just going to hit F8, or you do modify, convert to symbol, and we're just going to call this panel 03. And there's panel 03. And I'm just going to double click on it in here. Like I said, you could double click on it there. It's kind of the same thing. Go ahead and rename this frame, lock that up, make another layer, call it background, and another layer, and call that oops, not capital, character. Okay, and frame should be on the top. I'm going to select the background, and I'll find my background drawing, which, not that garbage one. Let's see, I did that one. It's got to be this one. Okay. Plop it in here. I'm going to hit Q, or you can select the free transform. and we're going to make it bigger. I should have drew this to size. I think I was not planning on making it like so landscape style, but it's all right. You'd want to do your proportioning out, obviously. All right, I'm going to turn that off, so that looks fine. I'm going to bring in the character, and for this one, it's going to start off with just that baby, which, get back here. This baby anim, so I'm just going to stick him in here, and it's kind of bigger than I was planning, but that's fine. I think that's actually probably a better size. Okay, and now that panel's done, so I'm back up, and let's delete this. Okay, so now if you look, I have my 3 basic panels here, all right? So what we can do is we can work on them individually. Maybe I should just throw them in there so you can kind of see. You know, let's make it like semi work, and then it might make the other parts easier. So I've got those basically nested in there. So what I'm going to do is call that good for right now, because in order to do the button part, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to stop it here, and then I'm going to start another video where we will go through and do like a little bit of coding, and hopefully it will make sense when we go do that part. Okay.